Hi, I'm Emma Sutherland, clinical naturopath, author, mom, and your host. As a naturopath, I see firsthand how financial stress can take a real toll on our physical and emotional well-being. That's why in this special 4-part series on financial literacy for teens, I'm sharing all the information I wish I knew as a teenager. Imagine having your financial literacy nailed as a teenager. Life would be very different as an adult. Think of this as your ultimate teen money toolkit. Real tips, practical examples, and no boring financial jargon. By the end of the series, you'll be in control of your cash and not the other way around. Teens, if you want to improve your financial health, watch all the way to the end. In the last episode, we tackled how to understand your payslip, knowing your rights at work, and we explored tax, superannuation, and HECS. In this episode, we're going to cover how to stay smart with credit, how to access your very own credit file, and manage credit like a pro. Think buy now, pay later is free money? One missed payment can haunt your credit score for years. Today, we're breaking down credit files, loans, and smart spending so you don't get trapped in debt. First up, let's discuss your credit file. Think of it as your financial report card. It shows your loans, credit cards, and whether you pay your bills on time. Just imagine you've applied and got a buy now, pay later account last year. Even if you never missed a payment, your buy now, pay later application will show up on your credit file. Pay late and that mistake could affect your future car loan application or your ability to rent an apartment one day. Now, you can check your credit file for free once a year through websites like Equifax or Experian. I'll pop the links for both of those below because knowing your score now helps you avoid surprises later. So did you know that a bad credit score typically results in a higher interest rate on a car loan because lenders perceive you as a higher risk to repay that loan? That car could cost you much more than your friend who has a great credit score. In fact, if you have a good credit score, your interest rate could be 11%, while a poor credit score means that you might pay around 22% on that loan. Now, here is my credit score report, which is 909. What's considered a good credit score? On the Experian scale, your credit score ranges from 0 to 1,000. Excellent is 800 and up. Very good, 700 to 799. Good is 625 to 699. Fair, 550 to 624. And poor, which you never ever want to be, is from 0 to 549. I want to share with you some hacks. Here are the quickest ways to absolutely tank your credit score. Here are all the things to not do. The first is missing repayments. Payment history is the biggest factor here. Even one missed payment gets recorded and can stay on your file for years. If you miss a repayment, immediately contact the provider and explain. Don't ignore it. The second thing you can do to tank your credit score is default on a debt. If a debt or fine is overdue, this is a massive red flag. So that fine you got by the transit police that you kept forgetting to pay, it will still be affecting your credit score in 3 years' time. The next way to tank your credit is applying for lots of credit in a short period of time. Every time you apply for a credit card or a loan, this goes on your credit score, whether you get it or not. So, if bank number 1 knocks you back for a credit card and you decide to apply the next day at bank number 2, they will see that you have already been rejected by bank number 1, as it shows on your credit score. It pays to only ever apply for credit when you have all your ducks lined up and you're pretty sure approval is going to happen. I really suggest either talking to your local bank manager or calling a credit card company and asking them what you need to do to make approval a certainty. Next up for tanking your credit is using most of your available limit. Nobody knows this one. If you have a credit card limit of, let's say, $1,000 and your balance sits at $900, so you owe $900, lenders will see you as risky, even if you make your repayments on time. Aim to only use around 30% of your limit and make sure you repay that amount in full every month. Now, buy now, pay later apps like Afterpay and Klarna, they seem amazing. You get what you want now and you just pay later in installments. Seems easy, right? But here's the catch. Let me give you an example. You buy a new iPhone valued at $1,200 using Apple's 0% interest deal over 24 months. You accidentally forget to make one repayment, and then you get hit with a 30% interest rate on all the money you owe, not just the amount that you forgot to pay. And this negatively affects your credit score, making every future loan more expensive. So buy now, pay later can be useful if you're responsible, but it's just not free money. Always check if you can afford it before you actually click buy. Now I want to cover consumer loans. This includes car loans, personal loans, or even some electronic financing like that new phone that you want. Let's say you take a $500 loan with a 10% interest over 5 months. That means you'll pay $50 extra on top of the $500. So make sure that you read the contract. This is key. Look at what the interest rate is. Look at the repayment schedule. Plus, look at the fees to get a clear understanding of how much you will actually be repaying. If there's a $10 monthly fee, on top of the 10% interest, then you'll end up paying a total of $100 to borrow the original $500. So you're actually paying $600 when you borrowed $500. That's expensive. In fact, that's a 20% cost in total. So my tip here is never sign a contract you don't understand. Always ask a parent or use online calculators to see how much you'll pay in total. What's the real repayment figure? It certainly wasn't $500. It was actually $600. Now, finally, let's hit the credit cards. These can help you build credit if you use them responsibly, but they can be really dangerous if you overspend. Let me give you a real-life example. You have a $1,000 limit and you buy $500 worth of clothes. If you paid off in the full by the due date, no interest is charged. But what if you miss a payment? Interest starts at 20 to 25%, making that $500 actually cost more, like $600 if it goes unpaid. Now, I want to play a game. So you have a credit card, you owe $1,000, the interest rate is 20%, and your minimum repayment is $25 a month. How long will it take you to pay off that total debt? I want you to work that out and write that number down, as we will come back to it very soon. It is critical to understand that paying only the minimum on your credit card doesn't clear your debt, as the minimum repayment is tiny. It's often around 2 to 3% of the total balance, or set to smaller dollar amounts like $25 in our example. In the meantime, the interest keeps building. So if you only pay the minimum, most of your repayment is only covering the interest, not the actual debt, not the money that you owe. As a result, your balance, or the money that you actually owe, barely moves because interest is added in each month, and as you're only covering the minimum, the balance isn't getting repaid. You're only paying back the interest. And then, if you keep spending on that credit card, the situation suddenly spirals out of control. So let's go back to our example. Pull out the number that you wrote down. Let me give you the real reality check. It's actually going to take 67 months, which is 5 years and 7 months, to pay off the $1,000 that you owe. You'll pay a whopping $662 just in interest, meaning the $1,000 debt ends up costing you $1,662 in total. So this is how minimum repayments keep you stuck in debt for years. A pro tip here for you: only use credit cards for planned spending. Make sure you pay off in full every single month and track the actual balance. Think of it as borrowing your own money for convenience, but it's certainly not free money. So here's your challenge for this episode: check your buy now, pay later accounts and get access to your very own credit file for free. Make note of any upcoming repayments that you need to make and see if you can actually afford them. Next episode, we're moving into budgeting, goal setting, and investing so your money can actually grow while you sleep. Thanks for being with me today. Don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button below. Check out all the links in the show notes for more finance empowering information.